Today we're talking about what most INFJs learn way too late in life. There's this theme in our community that is all about I'm a special snowflake. And I see this, throughout all ages. I work with INFJs in their early 20s and I work with INFJs in their 70s. Like the spectrum is really broad. And there are certain aspects that you see actually in our community way less than you see in the overall INFJ community. And that is this aspect of I'm a snowflake. There's, just something inherently different about me. And that is the reason why I suffer. This was very apparent when I first started my transformational journey, which was probably like 8 years ago. And the INFJ community was all about that. Thankfully, we now have this other shift and I'm part of it, which really helps us to understand how much power we do have. But this aspect is something that, as I said, INFJs learn at some point in their life. Yes, of course, there are INFJs who never learn this, but you see this more often with INFJs who are more mature, who recognize this. And I always read this or I hear this when we work together. It's like, oh, I wish I knew this when I was 20. Oh, I wish I knew this in my 30s because it would have really changed my life. And I remember when I was at that place, thinking that I'm just doomed and I just have to accept the fact that life will just suck. But that's not the case. And we're going to talk about how you can change that, what we can learn from the INFJs who've gone through this before you, and how you can use this to create an amazing INFJ epic life. Remember, if you want to take it to the next step, then download the free poster on the 5 pillars to an INFJ epic life and get the INFJ epic life audio guide. It's brand new, it's launched. It has amazing concepts that I've worked on for the last couple of years, and all the lessons learned are packed into this, bite-sized packed audio guide just for you. All the information you find in the links in the description. So I want you to think about all the aspects in your life that you felt you had to just accept. And it's not just something that is, a rational based decision. It's not something that you can say, okay, these are just facts. As in, I'm lonely. Well, that's a fact. Or I live in a world where I'm not understood, where I am alone, where I can't connect deeply. We all think these are facts when we're in it, but they're not facts. These are just ways we see the world at that moment. And for the longest time, it has been so prominent in our, community that this is the way it is. Like, those were the things we were seeing. If you read articles on INFJs, if you watched videos, it was all about why I have such a hard time connecting with people, why I'm different, why it is so hard to be an INFJ. I'm a martyr. I try to give everything to others and I just don't get anything back. And I've been in that situation. I've been that INFJ, so I know exactly how it feels like. And when you're in that, it feels like a complete lie to tell yourself, oh, it could be different. If you're in that position, you're probably telling yourself, yeah, there's some INFJs who could turn around, but they're different than me. They're not like true INFJs, or they're not really so deeply connected to that. The way I am, that's just how it's going to turn out. For me, it feels like I have a dark cloud over my head. Nobody understands me. I'm lonely. I'm depressed. I don't have anywhere to go. And I feel stuck. And as I said, I know how it feels like. Everything else seems like a lie. But you have to think of it like this. Your concept of reality can change. And that is the main thing that INFJs learn with time. That they have the power to change their concepts. Because all types have some kind of tendency to think about like negative things. Of course, introverted types more, and then the intuitive feelers particularly. But the INFJ has the capacity to set out visions, to set out a goal, to set out a plan of how life could be. And that aspect can help us tremendously. We're not so attached to emotions that we cannot change them. I'm not here to tell you that for other types, like let's say the INFP, it's not possible to change their approach to life, but I'm no expert in that. I do, however, work with INFJs on a daily basis, and I've done this for almost a decade now. So I know what is possible and I know how to do that. And the main thing we have to do is to understand that we have a growth mindset. It's not something that is stagnant. You cannot think that the way you think about life will not change. Because if that is what you think, it's not going to change. So you really have to get to a place where you tell yourself, okay, so I'm going to continue on this life. I have no intention of, ending it, but it still sucks. So what am I going to do? Well, let's just change it. Because what is the alternative? That you go through life and you just suffer. Even if you feel right now changing that belief system would be a lie. I would just be telling myself a lie. Well, keep telling yourself a lie. Why do you care? Why do you care that it's a lie? Because if you get to a place where you believe that lie, why not? How is that going to be something that has a negative effect on you? See, once you've changed your mindset, you will think differently. Once you've changed it, it will feel like, of course, what I believe now is the truth. And my old belief system was a lie. So there is no such thing as this is right or this is wrong. It's just a lie from your current perspective. But knowing this will not help you, because the point is not to say, okay, it was great when I've changed my mindset and I now believe that we live in an abundant world and I get everything that I want and I just go towards things and everything is amazing. Of course, this is where we want to get to. That's the INFJ epic life. And I wholeheartedly believe we all can get there. I've experienced this often enough. But the difficult part is that transition. The difficult part is to overcome all our doubts and all our self-sabotages to get on the other side. And just as a side note, of course, it's not a now I've done it completely or now I haven't done it at all. Of course, it's a leaning into part. But how do we do that? We actually really have to say to ourselves, if we're in that mindset of nothing is working out, I'm dissatisfied with my life, it's not going anywhere, and has absolutely everything to do with the way I am, I'm going to be lonely, I'm going to be, not in a healthy relationship, I'm going to have a job where I'm not being, appreciated, whatever it may be. That you say, I'm going to start lying to myself. I'm going to start lying to myself until I believe it. And what is the lie that you're going to tell yourself? The lie that you're going to tell yourself is that it will get better, that it is going to change. And I'm not here to tell you, okay, just tell yourself this and everything's going to be okay, because a lot of us have tried this. This is not the solution. The solution is that you actually start taking steps towards it. Because if you're not, if you're just staying in your head, it will never change because your reality doesn't change. No matter what you tell yourself, what you see in reality at some point will catch up to you. And if you tell yourself, yeah, I'm doing great, I believe in myself, I have self-love for myself and all of these stories, but reality shows you, okay, I hang out with people who are toxic, I allow myself to be used by people who just want my attention, I don't do anything which actually makes my life better. What are you proving to yourself? You're proving to yourself that you don't value yourself. So we actually have to build a new identity, and that is what most INFJs that I've worked with will tell me with time. Those are the things that they've learned over the years. Those are the things that, have made me the person that I am and being able to live now a life that I always dreamt of and never thought was possible. And it really is a combination of mindset and reality. It's taking actions, building something in reality, and that gives you feedback that allows you to build new beliefs and therefore a new identity. So how do we do that? Well, first off, we have to recognize if you've been conditioning yourself that life is, happening under our big dark cloud, you cannot change that overnight. You also cannot focus on that. Typical example I like to give is if 95% of your day suck and 5% are going well, you cannot dwell on those 95%. You cannot think about them. You cannot hope that things will get better if you focus on how much those 95% suck. What you have to do is to think about those 5% and how you can expand those. Those 5% could be, I had a nice conversation with a friend this morning. I had a great coffee this morning. I made my bed and that made me feel good. Whatever it may be. The point in this scenario is that you stop thinking about, I have a vision of what my life should be, and I'm comparing it to my current reality. There's such a discrepancy. This is such a difference. This is not what I want, and therefore I'm unhappy. This is the default state of most INFJs, and fortunately, with time, INFJs actually understand that this is not the concept that is going to make their life, worthwhile living. And as a side note, I don't even believe in any kind of way that INFJs or people in general are wasting their life living under a dark cloud. I don't believe that. I don't believe that your life is worth more if you're enjoying it. What I do believe, however, is that it's more fun to enjoy it. So why not do that, right? You actually get to feel excited about life. That is the goal here. So if we know, okay, no matter what kind of path I choose, it doesn't make my life more or less worthy, right? So I'm already giving up that concept. I'm going for more fun. So what do you do then? You recognize you cannot compare these two, reality and vision. You can have your vision as a North Star. You can have it as something that will guide you. But the point is that we, first off, accept reality, and we accept it with all the pain that we can. Our mind will only allow us to take on as much as we can. Meaning, if there's so much in your subconscious that you're suffering about, your mind will suppress it, right? Your body will suppress it, and it will just bring that much to the surface as much as you can handle. So don't be afraid that you take on too much. You won't. Your body, your mind will protect you from that. But as much as you can, accept reality. Like, look around. What do you think about your apartment? What do you think about your job? What do you think about your relationships? And, we've done this in the bootcamp many times, and, it's also part of the audio course, of course, because I've seen how healing that whole experience is, that when we bring things to the surface, it's not a good feeling. Like, people have told me, oh, this makes me more depressed. Like, this is not good. This doesn't feel comfortable. Yeah, but we're bringing things to the surface. You have to feel it in order to heal it. So when you accept reality, you can then take action. Because once you felt this discomfort of, okay, my life really sucks. I haven't done anything in the last 3 years that made me feel excited about life. It comes with, grief. It comes with acceptance. And then when we start improving something, we're focusing on how can I make it better than what it currently is. Those deep emotions about being sad that things are not going well, we bring them to the surface, we accept them, and once we've accepted them, they don't feel so horrible. It's really the most painful moment once you bring them to the surface. And the second worst and uncomfortable feeling is this, I'm keeping it right below the threshold. I'm keeping it so I don't think about it, but it's there. It's always like this subconscious feeling that goes, on in your life. And you're asking yourself, why is this happening? I don't want this, but it's still there. Once you bring it up, it's really uncomfortable, but you get over it. And then you start building on it. That's what I say, 95% suck. The 5% are going well. Because then you start focusing on what you are improving. Your mind starts focusing on the things that you have control over. Your mind starts focusing on the fact that you are somebody who actively improves their life. And before you know it, you've built new beliefs around it, and you've built a new identity around it. And those 5% turn into 6, 7, 10, and so on. You cannot, again, improve your life by thinking about what is not working. You bring that to the surface to create a first baseline, but then You actively start taking steps to improve it. And these are not things you can only do in your mind. These are things that you have to put in your schedule. It has to be an externally observable fact, so something you could actively tell a friend and you've actually done it. You've actually looked for a new apartment. You've actually, went out and sent out 5 applications for a new job. You actually went on a serious online dating site. You filled out all the questionnaires. You actually put yourself out there. Those things are externally observable facts that can improve your life. And before you know it, you recognize how much power you do have. And then you also recognize that the things you were telling yourself before seem like a lie. How did that happen? Well, it's that identity change. It's what we are able to do. That's the growth mindset. And I'm not saying everybody's ready for this all the time, but I know you are. Otherwise, you wouldn't be watching these videos. So if you're ready to get to this step, then really start focusing on that. Start with the things that you can actively take control over, and don't think about the fact that, oh, but that little percentage here isn't going to make my life better. If it's 5% or 6%, my life is still going to suck more than 90%. This feeling will overwhelm you if you always suppress it. But if you said, oh, okay, this, sucking of 90% has become my new baseline, then it's just something I've accepted. And then it's not even that bad. It's just how my life is. And when you don't have a strong emotion connected to that, guess what? The improvement continues to happen. And I've seen incredible success stories with so many INFJs. So this is definitely something I'm always going to advocate for because it works. It is, really close to my heart. And you have to be okay with taking some steps back. If you've been thinking about negative stuff for decades, of course you're going to fall back into that. You can't expect to always be positive. But if you think about, okay, I was able to be positive for 5 minutes today, great. Maybe in 2 days, I will be able to do it for 6 minutes. And then, 10 minutes. Then it's maybe half a day. Then it's an entire day. These are the things that compound because you focus on how you were able to improve to before and not in a way of, oh, it's not everything, therefore it sucks. Always remember it's 3 steps forward, 1 step back. Again, if you want to take it to the next step, definitely get the poster. It will give you some guidelines as to where to start, putting the action in. And if you want to take it even deeper and you say, now is my time, then get the INFJ Epic Life audio guide. And it's a step-by-step program that helps you do that on your time and at your pace. All the information you find in the links in the description. And if you want to watch another video now that is in alignment with today's topic, then watch the video, Why the INFJ Ages in Reverse.